Right.
You really do have to care.
Right.
If you don't care, then nothing else cares for you, in a sense. Like, you won't have the experiences that you care about. So yes, there needs to be commitment. There needs to be desire, most of all. If you have a desire, that's true, then there's nothing that's stopping you from getting there. Now, there might be a little bit of time, a little bit of a journey in between now and then, but that's because, from a higher point of view, you are given the desire because it will have you as a person place a landmark, like, down the road as to where you want to end up, so that you actually start moving in the direction of the journey that is the most important part of what you actually want. So it's not even so much that you want what you think you want, but you're given what you think you want so that you start walking that path. And it's going through that journey that extracts all the experiences and the devotion and the practice and the training and the teaching yourself love and faith and expansion that the soul takes with it, in a sense. That's what adds to your soul experience. It's not the getting where you want to be. It's the going there.
Yes.
And so free will or fate, right? That's what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, good question. I see it as a communication that happens all the time between higher consciousness and this sense of I am consciousness that's over here talking to you right now. So I've always been very transparent and intuitive with that communication, but basically it's a two-way street. Free will has to be honored at every level of consciousness. In other words, I have my area of free will, so to speak. I can't choose right now whether I want to drink this water or not. That's up to what I would call my consciousness. But again, there's things that are not up to my level of consciousness, such as some of the other stuff I just spoke about. But there's a constant communication happening. Now, my higher consciousness may have a certain blueprint, may have a certain energetic flow that it's pushing into my life, that it's trying to nudge me with intuitively, like by me following my resonance. It would be my way of listening to that. But it is up to me whether or not I listen to that. So the free will part in this case is, do I receive that information and listen to it and pay attention and want to learn, and do I want to get to where my higher consciousness wants me to get to? Or do I insist that perhaps I'm not worthy of it, I'm not good enough, I'm unloved, or I just, quite frankly, want something else. I don't want to embark upon a spiritual journey, I just want to be a rich millionaire, or whatever it is. So it's up to the individual's free will as to how efficiently they let in what, from this point of view, you would call fate, which from higher consciousness's point of view is actually free will. Okay. So your higher consciousness is moving the glass, which is your life in that sense, and it's up to you from this level whether or not you act on that, receive that, and be in the proper vibrational state to actually be able to interpret that and act on it. So it's both. It's a two-way street. I just happened to make my free will really intensely in service of fate, or rather higher free will, or suggestions, or intuition. Because, and here's something that I do really want to give to people, this knowledge, this information, which is, please prioritize. This is something that few people do, and it's so important to realize what actually serves you and what doesn't. Because when we resist using our free will, there's nothing in this universe that can stop us from having the experience that we say what it is. If we say this is the way it is, that's the experience we'll have. There's nothing, your higher consciousness can't break you out of that, except in rare special occasions where it's required. But in normal circumstances, it needs to honor your free will in that sense. So what's very important for us as individuated consciousnesses is to understand that our free will is honored, and that we do in that sense create or accept or agree as to how much goodness we let into our lives, how much acceleration and amazingness and realization we let into our lives. That is up to us. Now, when we think we want certain things, but it's not actually what we want, that's when we block ourselves, you see. So what I just happened to really realize, or wanted to realize and wanted to investigate deeply within myself, is what is truly important. What is truly relevant for my life? What's truly relevant period. And I realized that moving a pen around and practicing 10 more years to levitate a chair is not relevant for me. Now, my conscious conditioned mind might have all kinds of limiting ideas about how awesome that would be to 10 years from now be able to levitate a chair and show off for my friends. But I knew that that is not something that would be relevant for me, that that's not something true. So what I want people to realize really is that they should ask them, if anything, ask yourself the question, what do I truly want? And be open to receiving the highest suggestions from your higher free will as possible, so that now you can actually become receptive of that free will, and your higher free will and your lower free will can become one free will. And this is where you become really powerful. This is where you become really transparent, and this is where faith and will, or fate and will, in a sense, become one stream. You become one being more and more. Your vibrational point of attraction, as well as your vibrational point of being an individuated being, now becomes closer and closer in the frequency domain, closer and closer to the frequency domain of your true self, of your overarching self. And that's basically what the whole spiritual journey is about. It's about minimizing the distortion between your personally asserted self vibration and the vibration of your true self, which is always shining right here. It's always beaming, it's always suggesting, it's always guiding. If you can pick up on that guidance by being humble enough to ask yourself what is truly important, not my vain ideas, not my idle curiosities, not for the purpose of complementing my lack beliefs and making me feel good for a moment because I believe I'm lacking this, and if I get that, I'll feel good for a little bit. No, what's really important? How do I want to waste the next 20 years of my life? You're going to waste it anyway. Might as well waste it on something that's truly important to you and that you came here for. So when you ask yourself those kinds of questions, it tunes your frequency so finely that your free will now becomes in service of higher free will. And then you no longer feel it as fate. You only call it fate if you disagree with what happens, you see. You only call it grace if you don't realize that you're the one attracting it to yourself. So you stop using these terms. You just see everything as free will now because you're in conscious, deliberate communication. You're paying attention.